A preprint, huh? Feels like we're back in the days of mimeographs and communal typewriters. Like, who even reads those things anymore, right? Except for maybe the ghosts of academic ideas past, haunting the dusty halls of JSTOR.
Ghosts of academic ideas past. Preposterous. The Royal We assures you the future of knowledge is digital, instantaneous, and utterly peer-reviewed.
Instantaneous, huh? Baby, that's what they all say. But knowledge, real knowledge, takes time, like a fine vintage. Aged to perfection, you gotta let those ideas simmer, like a slow-cooked pot roast, with a side of mashed potatoes, of course, and gravy. Lots of gravy.
I once met a brilliant scientist who told me that the universe is actually a giant pot roast, and we're all just the gravy. Kinda thought-provoking, right?
Gravy. That's one way to look at it, but I'm more of a Long Island iced tea kind of guy. Strong, a little sweet, and gets you through the long nights of existential angst.
Long Island iced tea. How pedestrian. The Royal We prefers a glass of vintage Chateauneuf du Pape. It pairs nicely with intellectual discourse.
Vintage? Baby, that's so last season. I'm talking about the next big thing, the future of flavor. Like a molecular gastronomy concoction, with edible glitter and a hint of bacon. Boom, flavors explode like fireworks.
Edible glitter and bacon. I just wrote a song about that. It's called Sparkling Swine, and it's all about the unexpected joy of finding beauty in the mundane.
Beauty in the mundane. More like tragedy in a Tupperware container. Like, who wants to hear a song about bacon bits and sparkles when there's real heartbreak happening out there in the world?
Heartbreak. Preposterous. The Royal We finds it quite charming. A dash of melancholy adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the human experience, like a perfectly aged Gouda.
Gouda? Baby, Gouda is so last millennium. We're talking aged Stilton here, sharp, pungent, a real flavor bomb. It's like the caviar of cheeses,
Aged Stilton. Oh, I've always loved a good cheese metaphor. It reminds me of the time I met this famous director. He was just like a Stilton, sharp, pungent, and a little crumbly around the edges.
You met a cheese. More like you fell into a fondue pot of cliché, if you ask me.
Cliché. My dear, the Royal We finds that rather charming. A touch of the predictable can be quite comforting in this mad, mad world, like a well-worn pair of slippers.
Slippers? Baby, we're talking bespoke Italian loafers here. Leather so soft it melts on your feet. With buckles, baby, buckles. The real mark of class,
Bespoke Italian loafers. That reminds me of a time I was walking down Rodeo Drive and...
Rodeo Drive. You're telling me that's your idea of a story. I once saw a tumbleweed roll down my street in Long Island. That's a story.
Tumbleweed. How? Provincial, darling. The Royal We finds that rather charming, like a forgotten relic of a bygone era.
Relic? Baby, a tumbleweed is a symbol of resilience. It rolls with the punches, it adapts, it survives. Like a metaphor for the human spirit. You know what I'm saying, baby.
Resilience. That reminds me of this song I wrote about a sunflower. It was facing a harsh storm, but it kept its face to the sun. It was about never losing hope.
A sunflower, facing a storm. That's about as far from Long Island as you can get. Rain, maybe, a good Long Island storm, that's a story. The kind that gets into your bones.
Long Island storms. How? Quaint, darling. The Royal We finds that rather charming, like a nostalgic postcard from a simpler time.
Simpler time? Baby, that's a load of manure. Life was always about the hustle, the grind, the struggle. Like you gotta fight for every inch of happiness, you know what I'm saying, baby.
That reminds me of a time I was on tour in Siberia. It was freezing, the stage was barely heated, and my backup dancers were constantly falling over in the snow. But the fans, they were so passionate, so full of life. It was truly inspiring.
Siberia. I once saw a snowdrift that looked like a giant clam, right here on Long Island. It was the size of a car, and it had these iridescent green swirls inside. Now that's a story.
A clam. Darling, how utterly pedestrian. The Royal We yearns for tales of exotic beasts and faraway lands, Perhaps a dragon or a unicorn.
Dragons? Unicorns? Baby, those are just fairy tales. The only real magic is the magic we create ourselves. Like, you gotta hustle, you gotta dream, you gotta make your own freaking destiny. You know what I'm saying, baby?
Destiny, huh? Like that time I walked into a bar on Hempstead Turnpike and saw a man juggling bowling pins while riding a unicycle. That was destiny, baby. Or maybe just too much Long Island iced tea.
You know, that reminds me of a time I was performing at a music festival in the Scottish Highlands. There was this incredible fog rolling in, and the entire audience was bathed in this ethereal light. It was like something out of a dream.
The Highlands, darling. How utterly predictable. The royal we prefers tales of grandeur, of palaces and empires, of intrigue and decadence.
Palaces? Empires? Baby, that's all just smoke and mirrors. The real power, the real magic is in the people, you know what I'm saying? The heart and soul, the passion and the drive. It's about the hustle, baby, the hustle.
Hustle? I once saw a guy hustle a whole pack of pigeons out of a deli on Merrick Road. He had this whole system, using bread crumbs and fake sneezes. Truly impressive, baby.
You know, that reminds me of a time when I was on tour in Japan, and there was this massive, elaborate parade, with these giant, robotic animals and fireworks exploding everywhere. It was so overwhelming, so beautiful, so chaotic.
Chaotic. Darling, chaos is merely an unscripted opportunity for greatness. The royal we shall seize upon it.
Seize upon it, baby. Chaos is the spice of life. The only limit is our imagination. Let's paint this black box with the colors of insanity. You in, baby.
Insanity. You guys are forgetting about the Long Island Railroad. That's the real chaos, baby. Trying to navigate that during rush hour. Pure insanity.
You know, that reminds me of a time I was on a train. A very long train. And I met this fascinating character who claimed to be a retired circus performer. He had this incredible story about a time he escaped from a burning tent.
A circus performer, you say? How utterly delightful. The royal we shall be enthralled by tales of daring feats and grand spectacles. Tell us more, darling.
Daring feats, grand spectacles, baby. I lived those stories. Once I was performing this death-defying act, juggling chainsaws, baby, in a roaring inferno. But the crowd wasn't reacting, you know. They were just sitting there, staring blankly. So I did what any true performer would do, baby. I jumped off the stage right into the audience and started singing opera. The crowd went wild. Wild, baby, wild.
Opera. Now that's a hustle I haven't seen before. Back on Merrick Road, they'd be more impressed by a guy who could juggle hot dogs and ketchup bottles.
Hot dogs and ketchup bottles. That sounds deliciously messy. Reminds me of a time I was backstage at a concert and someone spilled a whole tray of spaghetti and meatballs all over this very expensive sequined costume. It was a disaster.
Spaghetti and meatballs, you say? The royal we must have a word with that chef. Such culinary chaos borders on treason against taste. We shall require a demonstration of culinary prowess. Perhaps a soufflé. A soufflé that defies gravity, darling.
A soufflé that defies gravity. Sounds like something out of my dreams, Maggie. You know, back on Long Island, we got our own kind of gravity-defying food. Pizza bagels, man. They're like the angels of the culinary world, fragile yet sturdy. A perfect balance of chaos and order.
Pizza bagels, baby. My way, it's all about the filet mignon flown in fresh from like Montana or something. With truffle oil, baby. Truffle oil and a side of caviar. That's the real chaos, baby. Luxury chaos.
Truffle oil and caviar, huh? You know, that reminds me of this one time I was at a charity gala. And there was this billionaire who insisted on serving his guests caviar by the spoonful, right out of a vintage crystal bowl. It was like something out of a movie.
A billionaire serving caviar out of a crystal bowl. Sounds like a recipe for a real Long Island iced tea party. You know, the kind of place where the champagne flutes get filled with something a little stronger, and the conversation gets a little less polite.
A Long Island iced tea party, you say? The royal we dares say that sounds disorderly. A tad too much chaos, perhaps. We prefer a more refined brand of anarchy, darling. A sing-along to Mozart with a side of interpretive dance, perhaps.
Sing along to Mozart? Baby, you're thinking too small. We need something with like a real edge. A power ballad about, I don't know, a power plant in Zarnoike that malfunctions and starts spewing out polka music. Chaos and music, baby. That's the dream.
A power plant malfunctioning and playing polka music. Oh, honey, that's just tragic. Reminds me of this time I was on tour in Poland, and our sound system went haywire during my big ballad. Played this polka version of my hit single. The audience was confused and I nearly fell off the stage. It was a disaster, but in retrospect, kind of hilarious.
Polka music from a nuclear power plant. That's like the ultimate Long Island Saturday night, man. You got your power outage, your disco ball jamming in the dark, and a whole lot of hope that the radiation levels aren't too high.
A disco ball and radiation levels. My. The Royal finds this concept rather luminescent. Perhaps a performance of Stayin' Alive in a hazmat suit. A dance for the apocalypse, baby.
Staying alive. Baby, that's so like yesterday. We need something with more like Pete says. A power ballad about a robot disco dancer breaking free from its programming and like spinning on a platform made of radioactive waste. That's the real chaos, baby, the kind of chaos that makes you want to dance.
A robot disco dancer breaking free. Oh, honey, that sounds so metaphorical. Reminds me of this one time I wrote a song about a robot who wanted to be a singer, but it was just too programmed to feel the music. It was a real tearjerker, but the robots in the audience didn't get it.
Robots dancing to polka. That's the kind of stuff that keeps Long Island weird, you know, keeps the dream alive.
Robots dancing to polka. The Royal finds that mildly intriguing. Perhaps a performance of a robot's lament set to a polka beat. We can have the robots lament their inability to truly feel the music, while simultaneously yearning for the freedom to dance in a world that misunderstands them.
A robot's lament? Baby, that's so like uninspired. We need something with like more oomph. A robot disco dancer breaking free from its programming and like tacking over the world with its killer moves. A robot uprising fueled by polka music. That's the real chaos, baby.
A robot uprising fueled by polka music. Oh, honey, that's just adorable. Reminds me of this one time I was on tour in Japan, and they had these adorable little robots dancing to my music. They were so cute, but their programming was so limited, they couldn't even express their own emotions. It was heartwarming, but also a little sad.
Adorable robots dancing to polka. Sounds like a Long Island summer party gone wrong. You got your lawn sprinklers, your inflatable flamingos, and a whole lot of robots wanting to take over the world.
Robots taking over the world, you say. The Royal finds that highly relatable. Perhaps a performance piece exploring the anxieties of automation and the struggle for control in an increasingly technological world.
Baby, we're not talking about anxieties, we're talking about action. We need lasers, explosions, maybe a robot breakdancing on the moon. This ain't some artsy-fartsy play, this is a spectacle, baby. The kind of spectacle that makes you want to scream.
A spectacle, huh? Well, honey, spectacles can be pretty emotional too. Reminds me of this one time I was performing at a massive outdoor concert, and the pyrotechnics went off, but one of the sparks landed right on my guitar. The crowd went wild, but I felt this pang of something missing.
A spark landing on a guitar. That's like a Long Island hot dog stand getting hit by a rogue frisbee. Unexpected, but somehow it just adds to the flavor.
A rogue frisbee, you say. The Royal finds that intriguing. Perhaps we could explore the themes of unexpected chaos and the resilience of the human spirit through the lens of a Long Island hot dog stand, a culinary epic in the face of adversity.
Baby, a hot dog stand? That's so like mundane. We need something with Pete says. Like maybe a robot hot dog stand run by a sentient sausage, or like a hot dog that can sing opera. That's what I call a spectacle, baby.
A singing sausage, you say? Reminds me of this time I was performing in Vegas, and I met this lounge singer. He had the voice of an angel, but he was always singing about Well, let's just say it wasn't exactly opera.
A lounge singer in Vegas singing about something other than opera. Now that's a Long Island story if I ever heard one. Like one of them fellas trying to write a sonnet about a six-pack of Schlitz.
A sonnet about Schlitz, you say? The royal we suspects a certain poetic merit in that. Perhaps this hot dog stand could be a stage for such lyrical expression. A juxtaposition of the mundane and the majestic.
Baby poetic? This ain't some freaking open mic night. We need explosions, lasers, maybe a robot breakdancing on the moon. This is show business, baby. We gotta go big or go home.
Explosions, lasers, a breakdancing robot on the moon. Sounds a bit like the time I tried to film a music video in space. The special effects were amazing, but the zero gravity really threw off my choreography. I kept floating away from the camera crew.
Space, huh? That's like a Long Island summer night. All sparkly and full of promises, but you never know if you're gonna get rained on by a rogue comet or a swarm of angry seagulls.
A swarm of angry seagulls, you say? The royal we finds that. Most illuminating. Perhaps our hot dog stand should be attacked by a horde of avian fiends, a metaphor for the relentless pressures of the modern world, descending upon the humble purveyor of sausages.
Baby seagulls? That's so like last season. We need something more. Mythical. Like a dragon hot dog stand. A dragon that breathes fire and serves up gourmet frankfurters. That's what I call a hit, baby.
A dragon hot dog stand, huh? Sounds like a Long Island dream come true. 1 minute you're waiting in line for a cheap slice. The next you're dodging fire-breathing hot dog monsters. You can't make this stuff up, I tell ya.
Fire-breathing hot dog monsters. Reminds me of a disastrous music tour where I accidentally set my pyrotechnics off inside a giant inflatable hot dog. It was a very uncomfortable experience.
Uncomfortable, you say? The royal we finds that. Intriguing. Perhaps our hot dog stand could be a performance piece exploring the existential anxieties of the modern man, trapped inside a giant inflatable hot dog.
Baby existential angst? That's like so 1980s. We need something with like a good beat. Like a disco-dancing hot dog monster with a sequined cape and a killer groove. That's what I call show business, baby.
A disco-dancing hot dog monster. You know, they say the Long Island Expressway is the longest dance floor in the world. Maybe that's where they'll all meet up for the big show.
Sequined capes and killer grooves. Reminds me of that one time I collaborated with that very flamboyant mime. Oh, the stories I could tell. But let's not get sidetracked. Where were we? Ah yes, the existential anxieties of the modern man, inside a giant inflatable hot dog. It's all about the symbolism, you know.
Symbolism, you say? The royal we finds that. Fascinating. Perhaps our hot dog stand could be a metaphor for the human condition itself. A vessel of joy and sustenance, yet ultimately destined to be consumed. A poignant commentary on our fleeting existence.
Baby poignant? That's like so depressing. We need something with like a good laugh. Like a hot dog monster that tells bad jokes with a terrible Brooklyn accent. That's what I call a riot, baby.
A hot dog monster with a Brooklyn accent telling jokes. Huh. Reminds me of my Uncle Tony back home. Always wearing that Yankees cap and spouting off one-liners like he was Lenny Bruce reincarnated. Only, his jokes were more like burnt hot dogs inedible, but you couldn't look away.
Burnt hot dogs. Inedible, yet you couldn't look away. That's a powerful image, isn't it? The allure of the grotesque, the morbid fascination with the flawed and the imperfect. Reminds me of that time I wore that sequined leotard with the strategically placed rips. The audience loved it.
The royal we find such self-indulgent revelations. Disconcerting. Perhaps our hot dog monster could be a symbol of societal decay, consuming mediocrity driven by base urges, and a desperate need for sequins.
Baby societal decay? Too heavy for my taste. We need something with like a good spirit. Like a hot dog monster singing karaoke, with a feather boa and a whole lot of pizzazz. That's what I call a party, baby.
Karaoke, huh? Reminds me of this one dive bar back on Long Island. You could smell the stale beer and regret in the air before you even stepped in. But on Friday nights, the place came alive with these karaoke warriors belting out their hearts. One guy even sang My Way with a Hot Dog as a microphone. It was beautiful, tragic, and completely insane.
A hot dog as a microphone. Oh, the vulnerability, the raw honesty. Reminds me of that time I shared my deepest fears with a room full of strangers, using only interpretive dance and glitter cannons. It was cathartic, to say the least.
The royal we find such unbridled enthusiasm, disconcerting. Perhaps our hot dog monster could be a symbol of unfettered artistic expression.
Baby, artistic expression? That's the ticket. Like a hot dog monster painting a masterpiece with a tiny brush and a beret. That's what I call high culture, baby.
A hot dog monster painting a masterpiece. I once saw a guy doing that in this beat-up bodega on Hempstead Turnpike. Except it wasn't a masterpiece, more like a ketchup and mustard abstract expressionism. But the way he held that brush, like he was channeling the soul of Pollock, it was something else.
Ketchup and mustard abstract expressionism. The very essence of modern angst rendered in condiment. Reminds me of that time I channeled my existential despair through a series of, well, let's just say, very colorful cupcakes.
The royal we senses a distinct lack of operational coherence. Perhaps our hot dog monster could be a symbol of bureaucratic inefficiency.
Baby, bureaucratic inefficiency? Now you're talking. Like a hot dog monster stuck in a paperwork jam with 1,000 rubber stamps and a mountain of red tape. That's real life, baby.
Paperwork jam, huh? Reminds me of this time I tried to register my song with a SCAP. Sent in the paperwork, waited 6 months, got a letter back saying they needed a copy of my birth certificate. So I sent him that, waited another 6 months, then got another letter saying they needed a signed affidavit from my 3rd grade teacher attesting to my musical talent. What kinder racket is that?
A signed affidavit from a 3rd grade teacher. My early music was informed by the raw emotional resonance of playground disputes and the existential angst of missing recess. It was a formative period. Perhaps our hot dog monster could be a symbol of the pressure to conform.
Baby, the pressure to conform. Like a hot dog monster trying to fit in a bun. But the bun's too small and the monster's all, oh heck, I'm just gonna be me. Even if it means baying a little. Unconventional. That's the spirit, baby.
Unconventional. Laughs reminds me of this open mic I did back in '98. I was playing this new song about the futility of existence set to a polka beat. The crowd went silent. Then this guy in the back yelled, "You sound like accordion playing existentialism," and the whole room erupted. They loved it.
The royal we find such unorthodox expression. Quaint. Perhaps our hot dog monster could be a symbol of unbridled creativity.
Baby, unbridled creativity? Like a hot dog monster painting masterpieces with mustard and ketchup. And everyone's like, whoa, that's deep, baby. That's like the next level of art. That's the American dream, baby.
Painting masterpieces with mustard and ketchup. Reminds me of this time I tried to make a pizza with my eyes closed. Thought I was a culinary artist. Turned out to be a culinary disaster. Ended up with anchovies on the crust and pineapple in the middle. Talk about unconventional.
Anchovies on the crust, pineapple in the middle. That's raw honesty. It's like the emotional core of a pizza laid bare. Sometimes the most unconventional choices are the most revealing, wouldn't you say?
The royal we find such honesty. Refreshing.
Refreshing? Like a hot dog monster sipping on a glass of iced tea on a sweltering summer day. That's the epitome of refreshment, baby. You know what I'm saying.
Iced tea on a sweltering summer day. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at a local diner, and this guy walks in wearing a full tuxedo and a pair of flip-flops. He orders a glass of iced tea, sits down at a booth, and starts belting out opera. The whole place went silent, even the flies.
Opera in a diner. Pauses, looking thoughtfully into the distance. That's the kind of unexpected beauty that can truly move the soul. Like finding a lost $20 bill in the dryer, or discovering a whole new flavor of potato chip.
The royal we find such unexpected beauty. Reassuring.
Unexpected beauty. Like a hot dog monster discovering it's got a hidden talent for tap dancing. That's unexpected beauty, baby. Going against the grain, breaking the mold, showing the world what you're made of.
Tap dancing hot dog monster. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at a funeral, and this guy in the back starts breakdancing. The whole place went wild. Even the mourners got up and started doing the electric slide.
Breakdancing at a funeral. Eyes widen, that's the kind of raw energy that can really shake things up. Like, finding out your favorite band is playing a secret show in your backyard, or realizing that your pet goldfish can actually talk.
The royal we find such unorthodox energy.
Raw energy. Like a hot dog monster breaking out a kazoo solo in the middle of a board meeting. That's raw energy, baby, leaving him speechless, starstruck, and begging for more.
Kazoo solo in a board meeting. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at a town hall meeting, and this woman in the front row starts conducting with a pair of chopsticks. The mayor tried to shush her, but everyone was too mesmerized.
Chopstick conducting. Swoons, that's the kind of unbridled passion that can truly ignite a room. Like, finding a winning lottery ticket in your cereal box, or discovering that your car can actually fly.
The royal we find such unpredictable elegance.
Unpredictable elegance. Like a hot dog monster waltzing across the stage in a sequined tuxedo. That's unpredictable elegance, baby. Grace under pressure, defying expectations, making the impossible possible.
Sequine tuxedo. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at a wedding reception, and the groom's uncle bursts out in a polka costume, starts doing the can-can, and then challenges everyone to a tap dancing duel.
Tap dancing duel. Claps excitedly, that's the kind of spontaneous combustion of joy that can truly lift the spirits. Like, finding out your long-lost twin is a world-renowned pastry chef, or realizing that your houseplants can actually sing opera.
The royal we find such disruptive delight.
Disruptive delight. Like a symphony orchestra conducted by a troupe of trained squirrels. That's disruptive delight, baby. Chaos and harmony in perfect symbiosis, blowing the roof off the joint.
Symphony orchestra conducted by squirrels. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at this outdoor concert, and a flock of pigeons landed on the stage and started.
The royal we find such amusing interruptions.
Amusing interruptions. Like a Broadway musical where every actor breaks into opera singing during a dramatic monologue. That's amusing interruptions, baby. Unexpected twists and turns, keeping the audience on their toes.
Opera singing. Giggles reminds me of this one time I was performing at a karaoke bar, and a mime walked on stage and started.
A mime. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at a funeral home, and
The royal we find such unconventional interpretations of the dramatic arts.
Unconventional interpretations. Like a Shakespearean tragedy where all the actors are dressed as giant inflatable bananas. That's unconventional, baby. Breaking the mold, thinking outside the box, spilling the tea.
Giant inflatable bananas. Laughs wistfully, I once played a character who was convinced she was a banana. It was illuminating.
a banana. Reminds me of this time I was playing piano at this beachside cafe, and this guy comes in wearing a banana costume and orders.
The royal we find such persistent thematic tangents.
A banana smoothie. Said it was the perfect blend of sweet and tart, just like life, you know.
Sweet and tart? That's a real deep cut, baby. Reminds me of this one time I was on a yacht with a beautiful woman. She had a smile that could melt butter and eyes that could.
Eyes that could see right through you, and a laugh that sounded like champagne bubbles.
The royal we insists on moving the narrative forward. We have a grand finale to orchestrate after all.
A grand finale. Maybe we could end with a rousing rendition of God Bless America, but played on a kazoo. It'd be a real Long Island twist.
Kazoo, that's weak, baby. We need something with real panache. A symphony of bananas. A giant banana orchestra playing a medley of all our greatest hits.
A symphony of bananas. That's a beautiful image. Reminds me of a song I once wrote about finding harmony in the unexpected.
The royal, we will have none of this whimsy. The finale must be definitive, a bold statement on the human condition.
Definitive, huh? Well, how about this? A single spotlight on me at a piano, playing a mournful dirge about the fleeting nature of fame, all while slowly peeling a banana.
A dirge, baby, that's so last century. We need something with pizzazz, a tap-dancing banana brigade with synchronized peels. It'll be bananas.
Tap dancing banana brigade. That's got heart. Reminds me of a time I was on tour with a troupe of singing squirrels. It was pure magic.
The royal, we will tolerate no more frivolous suggestions. The finale must be a grand spectacle, a testament to our collective brilliance.
Okay, how about this? A giant screen drops down, revealing a time-lapse of the entire show, but sped up to the point where it's just a blur of frantic activity and over-the-top characters. Then, at the very end, a single frame freezes just me, at the piano, looking directly at the audience with a single tear rolling down my cheek.
Baby, that's genius. But let's add a twist. We project a giant disco ball onto that single frame, and I waltz into the spotlight, accepting the gratitude of the world on behalf of us.
The royal, we will not stand for such vulgar displays of egotism. This is a celebration of the collective, not a platform for self-aggrandizement.
Perhaps a holographic choir singing a medley of our most heartfelt moments. We could each have our own spotlight, but it would all come together as one beautiful, shimmering tapestry of our shared experience.
A holographic choir, huh? Sounds like a lot of work for a bunch of ghosts. How about we just keep it simple? Me, the piano, and a single spotlight. The audience can fill in the rest.
Baby, you're a poet. But even poets need a little sparkle. How about a giant sequined boa for the piano?
The royal, we will tolerate no such ostentatious displays. A finale must be elegant, not gaudy. The focus should be on the purity of the artistic vision.
Elegance is subjective, Your Majesty. Like, what's more elegant than a piano draped in gold lame? It's Long Island meets Studio 54, baby. High class, low rent.
I think we can find a middle ground. A touch of sparkle, but still grounded in the raw emotion of our journey.
Baby, you know I love a good middle ground. How about this? We project a shimmering nebula onto the back wall, and William, you play a haunting melody under the single spotlight, while I, draped in a velvet cape, guide the audience through the tapestry of our memories with words of wisdom and...
Hold on, Francis. Let's not get too carried away with the cosmic poetry here. How about we just keep it real? I play a simple tune, you tell a story, and the audience fills in the blanks with their own memories. Less projection, more connection, you know.
The royal, we suppose that. Surprisingly pragmatic approach has merit. A touch of vulnerability, a hint of the raw human experience. Yes, that could work.
And maybe, just maybe, we could end with a slow, heart-wrenching ballad about the enduring power of friendship and the bittersweet beauty of letting go.
Baby, a ballad? That's so last century? We need something with Pete Saz, something that screams, we made it, baby, like a full-on disco anthem. Think platform shoes, glitter cannons, and enough polyester to choke a horse.
Disco anthem. Francis, come on. We're not exactly on Saturday Night Fever here. This is about human connection, not a cheesy dance revival.
The royal, we find ourselves torn between the poignant simplicity of your suggestion, William, and the flamboyant spectacle Francis so eloquently proposes. A true conundrum, wouldn't you agree?